Okay, we're looking at Chapter 5, Section 9. It's the last video for Chapter 5, so congratulations. And you have that St. James heading. Underneath that, you have Chapter 5, Section 9 underlined in red, and then you write simple interest underneath that. Okay, this is something that certainly your parents are very much aware of, and you will be when you go to college and you apply for loans. So you're going to need to know this like now, especially if you have a bank account, if you're looking to get a credit card because you travel, etc. Okay, and interest. Interest is the amount of money paid or earned for the use of that money. Okay, so if you have a savings account, hopefully every single one of you do. So if you go to TD Bank or if you're a Wells Fargo customer and you have money in Wells Fargo and it's a savings account, what you end up doing is that bank uses your money actually to maybe provide a loan for somebody else. Or to provide financing for a home or something like that. So they actually kind of borrow your money and they give you interest for that. They give you interest for the use of that money. So again, a savings bank account, you earn interest from the bank, or if you have a credit card or a loan, then you pay interest to use that money. So either way, interest is a way of paying someone for using their money. Here's the formula for it, okay? I, interest, equals P times, remember, this is all multiplied, times R times T, okay? I equals P times R times T. And you're going to think that the P is percent, but it's not, okay? The I is the interest. The P stands for principal. We'll explain what that is in a second. Okay, the R is your rate. That's actually the percent you're given. And then T is time. Okay, so the principal, you need to know this, so write all of this down. The principal is the amount of money invested or borrowed, initially invested or initially borrowed. Okay, the rate is the percent in a decimal. Again, this must be in a decimal, 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 decimal. Okay, it's really important that you have it as a decimal. All right, and then time has to be written in years. So if you're given it in months, then you need to convert it or change it to years, or it's not going to work. Okay, so this is the formula. So let's try one. Okay, find the simple interest. Okay, that's the I in the formula for $500. $500 invested, so that's your principal. That's the amount you originally invested in a savings account for 3.25%. That's your rate. For 3 years, that's your time. Okay, so we write the formula. I equals P times R times T. Okay, so here we go. Definitely make sure you have your calculator with you. It'll just go faster. So you're looking for the interest. So that's I equals, the principal is $500 times your rate, the R. Well, the R is 3.25%. You need that as a decimal. So converting it to a decimal, again, you move the decimal point 2 spaces to the left, which is why you really need to know whether you're going left or right. It's really important. We've used it for a couple of sections now. So it's 0.0325. It's got to be a decimal or you're not going to get the right answer. Times 3 for the years. Okay? So I'm going to just do this little by little so you can check and see if you're doing this right. 500 times 0.325. Okay, and that gives you 8125 times 3. So you do that times 3, and you get your interest is 24,375. Okay, all right. That is, hold on, something's not right. Oh, I didn't dial it in right. I hate when I do that. Times 0.25. That's better. Sorry, right here. This is why you do it in pencil. Okay, so I just typed it in wrong. So 500 times 0.0325 is 16.25. Okay, 16.25. And you times that by 3, and you get, there we go, that's much better. So for $48.75. So if you were to take out a loan, say you borrowed $500 from Wells Fargo Bank, okay, and they say, okay, you can borrow it, but you have to give us 3.25% every year. Okay, and you borrow it and you have it for 3 years now, you owe them an additional $48.75. Okay, so you'll have to pay back the $500 and then you'll have to pay back $48.75 if you borrow it for 3 years. Okay, you're gonna have to pay that much back. So that's fun. In this case, it's a savings account, so they have borrowed from you $500 and they're going to give you $48.75. So in that case, it's pretty nice. Okay, now it says find the simple interest to the nearest cent. And I wrote here, nearest cent means hundredths place, which we did up here. If you look up here, 0.75, this 5 is in the hundredths place. So since we're using money, okay, you need to make sure you're in the hundredths place or it just wouldn't make sense. Okay, so now it says find the simple interest. So we're looking for I, the I. Okay, so it's I equals P times R times T. Okay, at $300, that's your principal. At 7.5%, that's your R. For 5 years is your T. Okay, so again, the hardest thing is for you to get this percent into a decimal. Okay, right now it's a percent. Okay, so I equals your principal, $300, times your rate, which is 0.075 times 5 years. Okay, so you do, again, you can do this all at once, but I'm just showing you so you can see it works. 300 times 0.075. Okay, that gives you 22.5 times 5, and you get the interest is $11.25. Nope, I looked at my decimal wrong. It's $112.50. That is your interest. Okay, that is your interest. So you just take the 300, you times 0.075 times your 5, and you get $112.50. Okay, so again, is it really hard? No, it's not. It's really not hard. It's a matter of using the formula and making sure you don't forget to put the percent, that rate, put the rate as a decimal, okay? That's going to be tricky for some people if you're not paying attention. So here's another one, $230 at 12% for 8 months. So $230, that's your percent, your principal, sorry. Your principal, the 12% is your rate, your R, and 8 months is your time. But we have to be careful. Look, it's under months, so we have to fix that because you can't use it as months because time must be in years. Remember, time has to be in years, so be careful. So I equals P times R times T. Okay, now we have the I, the principal is 230 times your 12%, so it's 0.12 times 8 months. Now it's 8 out of 12 because there's 12 months in a year, so 12 months in a year. Okay, so you need to know this as a decimal, so 8 divided by 12, so it's really 0.6, 0.6 repeating. Okay, so you have 230 times 0.12. Okay, so initially it's 27.6 times 0.6 is going to give you, oops, sorry, times 0.2 and then times 0.6. There we go. Okay, it's really 0.6666 repeating, so you could say 230 times 0.12 times 0.67. Right, okay, so you're going to get times, I'm just saying 0.6 because it goes on forever, the 0.666 repeating. So you'll get your interest will be 18 point, approximately $18.40. No, 0.6 is $16.56. That's your interest. Okay, that is the interest for 8 months. Okay, and what you gotta watch is you gotta convert that to how many like out of the year it would be. You know, if you divide this by two, it'd be 4/6, or it'd be 2/3 of a year. So that's why you get 0.66666. Okay, so that's the hard part, and then trying to multiply that with everything else can get kind of tricky. If you have a fancier calculator, my calculator is not super fancy. If you can put 2/3 the fraction in your calculator, for those who are doing that, you're actually going to get a different answer. And if you round, it's $18.40 because the 2/3 is an ongoing decimal. It's a repeating decimal forever and ever and ever. So we'll have to account for that. Okay, so to account for a repeating decimal, all you have to do, even if you have I have a very simple calculator. If you type in 2 divided by 3 for the 2/3 fraction here, if you type 2 divided by 3 and then multiply 1.12 and then multiply 230, you'll get the 18.39999. You know, so you'll get the $18.40. So you do want to use that fraction, or your answers will not be accurate. Okay. So it's things like that we just want to work out, and we'll work that out as we do the problems in class. So don't panic, but you want to make sure that you account for the fact that they gave them to you in months when we need the time to be in years. Okay, another thing that your book asks you to do is to find the total amount. Okay, that means that when you get that interest rate, the I, you'll have to add it to the original amount. Okay, so here you have $2,250. That's your principal. Here's your rate at 5%, and 3 years is your time. Once you get the I, you'll have to add it to this 2,250. So I equals P times R times T. Okay, so then you have I equals the principal is 2,250 times your R. Remember, got to put it as a decimal, 0.05, and then times 3. Okay, so if you do that math, I'm going to do it all at one shot. So it's 2,250 times 0.05 times 3, and you should have $337.50. Okay, $337.50. So that's your I though. That's not the overall amount though. So it's $337.50. Okay, because we want the hundredths place. That's your hundredths place. Okay, and then we have to get the total amount. You need to add that to the original principal. So the 2,250 plus the 337.50. Okay, so here's this real world math that you're looking for. This is what happens when you get a loan. Your total amount is $22,587.50. Okay, so woo, that's a lot. So if you borrowed in a loan, you borrowed $2,250, which is very possible for college, you actually end up having to pay an additional $337 just for interest. That's only for 3 years. So you're not even out of college yet. So it'd really be 4 years for, going to college. Okay, now here we have the $834, that's your principal. And then the rate is the percent, and then it's for 2 months. So we already know we have to do 2 over 12 or 1/6. So when we put in our calculator, put it in as that fraction so we know we're getting the most accurate number. So I equals P times R times T. I equals the principal, 834, times your rate, 0.0725, times the 1/6, because we need in terms of years. So 2 months out of the 12 month of the year. So 1 divided by 6 first. Okay, 1 divided by 6 times 0.0725 times 834. Okay, you get an interest rate, okay, of $10 and 7, nope, we round, and 8 cents. Okay, that's the interest. That's how much interest you're going to get because the percentage is so low. Okay, all right, and then it wants the total amount. So it's the total amount. So now we add it. The total amount, you add that percent, that I, to your original. Well, I cannot spell amount. That's not good. Try that again. There we go. Okay, so you do the $8.34 plus $10. I'm sorry, 834 plus $10.08. Okay, so you'll get $844.08. That is the total amount. Okay, so it's just a matter of being careful with your interest rate, being careful with the percent there, and being careful with the month, that fraction. That's going to throw people if you're not careful. Okay, your question for class next time. This is just find the simple interest. Just find the I. Just find the I, okay? That's all you want to do. So this is the problem for next class. Here we go. And I want you to do, it's $725 at 4.5% for 4 years. Okay? See you next class.